All right. Can you hear me now, Mteto?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Just hold on. Just hold on. Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen who have joined us today on the Dr. Fundi digital channel via multiple social media channels, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and also the Dr. Fundi website. Welcome back to our channel. It's been a while. I needed to recharge my batteries. I was burnt out, so I couldn't keep up with the weekly broadcast. Today, as part of our Salute Sunday program, we are honored to host somebody that I've known for all of my life, since birth to date. I've walked on his footsteps as a child to date. We only parted, the direction when I matriculated. He pursued engineering, I pursued medicine. But the funny thing is that as we are getting older, our roads are converging again, in the world of business. Obviously, him in big corporates and me, in the small, enterprise. So today, our guest is none other than my big brother, Mteto Nyati. I'm mentioning that second name just because, translated, that name means, the smart one or the clever one, and, a little bit about Mteto. He's a qualified mechanical engineer. He's an MBA graduate from Wits Business School. He's a Yale Weld Fellow, and he's recently been honored with a PhD from University of Joburg. And we know him as somebody who has assumed a number of roles as a chief executive officer, responsible for leading the turnaround of many companies that were not in good shape. He's no stranger to this channel. He's been a guest in April 2020, when we were dealing with COVID, looking at the impact in business and the economy. He also hosted me, in September 2020, asking me a lot of questions around what it meant, at the time I was 53. Mteto, welcome once again to the Dr. Fundi digital channel.
Oh, thank you so much, Foods, for that really, really nice introduction. And yeah, I'm looking forward to engaging with you in this channel of yours. Been quite famous over the years now. You have built a very, very good platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mteto. Thank you really for honoring us with your presence. I mean, you've got a very hectic, commitment schedule that goes beyond, the 8 to 5 and weekdays. And after this meeting, actually, you are going to be attending another urgent meeting. Well, the reason why we decided to invite you here is because when we woke up on Tuesday, the 15th of November, we woke up to big news that, you had acquired a significant minority stake in a tech consulting company called BSG. And you had assumed a new role as its executive chair. Now, that's the real, main reason for us to invite you here. But before we do that, we want to know a little bit about who Mteto is. I know we've got limited time, but just a little bit about, who Mteto is, the man behind, the news that we normally read about, in the media. So can you just tell my audience, who is Mteto?
Look, at the core foods, I am this rural guy coming from the Eastern Cape in Tabase. And I'm mentioning that because our roots define who we are.
Yes.
But I also insist that our roots should not imprison us. By that, I mean that there are certain aspects of who we are influenced largely by our background, that from time to time we need to review and check whether those things that may have helped us or shaped us then, are they still serving us? And if not, one has to shed them, So I say they don't imprison me. So I'm this guy influenced largely by that, coming from a background of parents that were educators, and that's significant because at the core also of me is this person who puts education at the center. And I love education because education is the biggest leveler. It levels the playing fields. You may be coming from the poorest of environments, but if you take education, embrace it, when you get out there, everything now becomes equal. And that's what I love about education. It also helps us to be informed about things. And when you look in the environment where we're living in a world where things are so superficial, and it's so nice to have people that have got depth, and education helps us to have that depth. It also helps us to question some of the assumptions that we carry in our heads, and assumptions unfortunately tend to have a way of showing up as behavior. You may not know that you are doing certain things because there are these assumptions that in some cases those assumptions may be wrong. I'm also a family man. I'm a family man. I've got 3 children. I'm married, 1 wife, and I'm mentioning 1 wife because sometimes we can choose to do different things. I've chosen to have 1. So yeah, that's me, Foods. And also in terms of profession, I'm really passionate about technology and people. That's me.
All right. So you grew up in this rural environment, in this family where education was everything. And you were a deputy parent. We normally say firstborns are deputy parents. Any lessons, that you've carried from that kind of environment that actually help you to navigate life?
I think, if you may have people that were born same parents, but because the circumstance within that family change over time, those people may have different upbringing. And I happen to be at the front end of our parents, and they were a bit struggling during that time. And I was part of, as they were busy trying to build some of the things that they built for our family. I ended up being the cheap labor in many cases. And of course, you also experienced some of that. And that upbringing made me, it may have been difficult at the time, but it has made me a very tough person. Somebody that is not afraid to work hard, somebody who circumstances, things can be tough out there, operating in a world that is very cruel, and my upbringing has kind of helped me to be able to navigate that and be able to handle some of that food.
Beautiful. You know, whenever I listen to you, you know, in some of your interviews, one of the things that you always talk about is about your values. Even with this appointment, with this acquisition, I'm going to be asking you questions around that. But the issue of values seems to be something that is very, very close to your heart. Are those values that you picked up, you know, in your early upbringing, or values that over time you've developed that actually help you to navigate life? And what are those values?
Yeah, but, you know, if I can take you back to when I was saying that my background or my roots do not necessarily imprison me, I realized much earlier on that values, it's not like a DNA. You know, as you know, you're a doctor, you know, a DNA, there's nothing you can do. If that's who you are born like that, you know, like me, I'm an introvert. There's very little that I can do about that, right? But when it comes to values, these are things that we get them from the people that are around us, but you also need to figure out if these things continue to serve you in the way that they are, and you can choose not to discard some of them or to refine some of them. I'm going to make an example of respect. Respect is a value that is, you know, we hold it dear as African people. And the way we define it, it goes to the, even to say that people who are in positions of authority or people who are older than us, we have to respect them, and it's a good thing to do that. But we also know that some of the time, you know, you can have an old person who is not actually saying a right thing or not doing a right thing. So what do you do in that environment? You know, and we need to learn. I've chosen to learn to be able to challenge, regardless of whether the person is much older than me, you know, because at the end of the day, we need to, we cannot let things continue to go just because, you know, you happen to be older, you know. If you happen to be in a work and corporate environment or any work situation, you may have a boss that is maybe taking you into the wrong direction. And just because happen to be a boss, you are not, challenging, you're not even highlighting that, hey, maybe we should be going in this particular direction, right? So I've learned to modify my definition of respect to suit the environment in which I'm living in, so that I can continue to contribute and not just sit there and see things are moving in the wrong direction and do nothing about it. But you ask the question, what are my values? My core values is first is fairness, you know. The second one is excellence. The third one is integrity, and the fourth one is family. And I'm mentioning this because if you look at the things that I do, whether I'm at home, foods, whether I'm on holiday, whether I'm at work, you'll find that it's consistent. It's just the same Mteto showing up, you know. And the reason why that showing up is because my behavior, everything that I do is driven largely by these things. They inform the decisions that I make. And the people that I work with, the people that are around me, they find me predictable. One may think, oh, that's a bad thing. But if you are in a leadership position, people should not be trying all the time to figure out, okay, what is going to happen? You know, they can never know, right? They need to know what is acceptable or not acceptable. And you're creating an environment that is much more stable because you're showing up in a particular way, you know. And the way you treat people, you're treating people, you know, the same. Not the same, but you treat them fairly, you know. Because people are different. You need to adjust based on those differences. But at the end of the day, you need to be fair. with
Yes.
everybody else. Yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned, these four values, and I'm just going to pick up one there, the excellence one.
Yeah.
With the history that we have in South Africa, certain groups of people were disadvantaged, others a bit advantaged. So nowadays, when we see people are doing good, we will, celebrate what we call Black excellence. Yeah. Now, I just want to know your take on this thing called excellence, Black excellence, as opposed to just universal excellence.
Okay. Look, let me just go back to what happened. I think it was during those days, we used to call it Standard 10, but it's grade 12 now.
Yeah.
We wrote during, I think it was around April, there was a national exam that was written around that time, more around maths, science, and biology. It used to be called International Science Olympiad.
Yeah.
And we wrote that in South Africa, and globally, each and every country wrote that exam. And I happened to be one of the top students who ended up representing South Africa in the UK. I'm mentioning this because here you have a situation where we have an education system that was designed to make us not to be equals or to compete with certain people. But then I realized then that by making certain choices, although you may have started from a disadvantage, you can actually be able to compete effectively with whoever, even with those that have been given an advantage. And that was an important lesson that I learned out of that. Here is someone from a rural area and a school that has got very limited resources, but is able to compete and be at the same level, in some cases better than certain people that have got an advantage. So then I realized then that regardless of whatever situation that we find ourselves or our circumstances, we have this thing called choice. And that thing, if we use it, we can be able to compete. And my view is that we need to compete with the best in the world. We need to compete with everybody. As South Africa, we have to benchmark ourselves with the best in the world when it comes to manufacturing or service or whatever. And that's my view. My view of excellence is a much broader view. It's not limited to a geography. It's not limited to a race. It's not limited to gender. It's a broad one.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So let's just move on quickly. So you've already mentioned that you represented South Africa at the International Olympiad. Now, around that same time is a time where you had to choose your career. What you're going to study. You were top of this, of the pile at St. John's College, where you did your high school. And it was the norm those days that if you're top of the pile, you must go and do medicine. And in fact, when you came back from London, my dad had already organized a TEPA, a bursary from the bureau that recruits minors for you to go and do medicine. But you stood your ground and said, no, I am not going to go and do medicine. Bursary or no bursary, I want to do mechanical engineering. And our dad didn't know anything about that. He thought it's a glorified mechanic. Just tell us a little bit about why, many kids would have, decided, okay, let me make my parent happy. But you stood and you sacrificed the bursary and everything else that came with it. Even, that comment that, how can you waste your brains to go and become a glorified mechanic?
Yeah, look, that hurt, but that's parents. Parents are like that. It's actually a form of love.
Yes.
And so, but the key thing for me, I left these shores when I went to the UK. I left. I remember I was interviewed by Daily Dispatch at that time. I left, and that article is clear that I said I wanted to be a doctor. I came back I did not want to be a doctor. Why? Because, you know, I think this is another important thing in life. When you have new information, you should be willing to revisit some of your decisions. And if those were based on lack of information, and now you have got new information that leads you to a different decision, you should be comfortable to make that change. And I made that change. And I was very clear, because they spent that 2 weeks we spent in the UK, they helped us to understand the different careers, you know, and I came back knowing clearly that engineering, that's the space that I should be in. If I go anywhere else, I know I would have been able to pass, but I would not necessarily be enjoying myself. So I came back. It was tough because my decision meant that our family had to fund my going to university as opposed to the bursary that I had already got. But at the end of the day, it's more about, you know, it's my life, you know, what is it that, you know, where do I think I would be able to make the biggest contribution? And indirectly also, it goes back to my discussion earlier around the respect thing. Where as much as I respected my dad, but I just felt that his position was not necessarily based on having all the information. So I chose to do what I felt I needed to do. So that's it, Foods.
Yes, okay. All right, so you got to University of Natal after just a pre-end, you know, at UNITRA. I'm not gonna waste time about your time there. Safe to say, at the University of Natal, you were the first person of, you know, I'll say black person who actually finished that degree in record time. Am I right?
Look, it's not something that particularly I lead with that. But it is a fact. Yes, it is a fact.
Yes. But soon thereafter, you got a scholarship, a Rhodes scholarship, to go into your master's in Germany. You turned it down. Why?
At the time, you may remember that our mother was not was sick at the time, and being a firstborn, and you know we are going to go out of the country, you're going to get all of the sponsors, and there may be restrictions around when to come back or not. So I just felt that, you know, I did not know what was going to happen. I just felt that the best place to be is to be here in South Africa. And I think also, Foods, when I look back now, because at the time I had not quite crystallized my values as clearly as they are now. I think that it was also informed by that value of family.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so you finished your engineering, you started as a junior engineer, and you know, less than a decade from that time, you switched to management and leadership, you know. Now, the big question is, you spent 4 years training to be an engineer, another 3 years, you know, under, you know, a qualified engineer. After that 7-year investment, you worked just for a few years and you branched out to leadership and management. Just explain, because we're now getting to you and being this turnaround specialist for companies.
So Foods, you know, yes, I spent 7 years really building up my engineering skills, which was a good thing. And I also practiced that the process engineer, as a regional engineer, you know, going around in the Eastern, it was called Eastern Transvaal at that time, you know, being responsible for Swaziland, a number, Pretoria, a number of regions falling under that region. So I practiced, but what I realized is that, first, is that there is a little innovation, which is the thing that brought me into engineering. Is the creativity, is the design. But you realize when you are here in this country, at the time, because we're not allowed, you could not be working for the Denels of this world, where there was proper, design of as a Black person you working just in general corporate, there was not much innovation that was happening. We're just modifying things here and there. So that was the one thing. And also realize that you may have the best idea, the best design on something, but when you go and present there, some people would turn it down. And I just could not understand. But technically, this thing makes a lot of sense. But somehow there are these people who are not engineers and they're turning this thing down. I just felt this is terrible. I need to be one of these people. I need to figure out a way of of being at the as a leader that would be able to understand. Okay, I needed to broaden and embrace and get some leadership skills, and in particular finance related skills, which I did not have. Finance and accounting, corporate finance, strategy kind of skills. Hence, I enrolled to do an MBA, which helped in opened up my understanding of the business world. And I also started to fall in love with just coaching and giving people, supporting others. And I've always done this throughout my life. You may remember during school holidays, there were a number of people that used to be there at home where I used to be teaching them math and science. So impacting knowledge has always been something that is part of me. I enjoyed doing that. And moving into management also gave me the opportunity to do what I love, which is really to see others thriving and helping them to be able to be successful. So I enjoyed a lot of that. And I also was in a position now to start to influence, because at the end of the day, you can be around, but if you are not making an influence, you won't have an impact. So that's what it brought me, gave me up the opportunity to be impactful.
So this idea or this love for, I call it toxic companies. So at what point did you now see that this is my niche? This is something, but then it brings all of these things that you say you like.
It goes at the core of being an engineer. I think most engineers have this thing. It's really about problem solving, and many of us are driven by, we're trying to figure out and fix things. It could be something that's broken, it could be a challenge of how do I build a bridge that goes across this thing, a terrain that is so difficult, right? All of these are challenges that as engineers we like to be working with. So it comes at the core from that. So basically, as much as it may appear as if I've left engineering, but I'm every day I'm effectively using the core skills that engineering have given me, that problem solving. But it may not be now problem solving only about machines, but problem solving could be human things, could be strategy, it could be all of that, So I call these portable skills, and we always need to be aware, what are the skills that we have that can help me move from one sector to the other. Because it doesn't matter. I can go to pharmaceutical, I could go to telecoms. People are saying, hey, why is going to telecoms? I do not have a telecoms background. I go to, it doesn't matter. You are taking the same core skills.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so let's move. We've only got about 25 minutes left. Because at 5 to, we need to release you for your important meeting at 6 o'clock. So, now, after many decades of being this CEO who turns around, companies that are struggling, now we get to hear on Tuesday that you are now a tech investor. Can you just tell us the thinking? I mean, I thought there's some big company out there that's still gonna come and say, "Hey, man, give us 5 years of your life." And help us. I mean, there was even one bank that people thought you were going to go and turn around. And then you just come and say, no, I'm now somebody who is a tech investor. You are now an entrepreneur. So yeah, just
Yeah.
tell us about that transition to say, I'm no longer going to be employed by anybody. You know, I'm actually going to be an owner of a business. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so food, I mean, as I was saying, that when you are in these leadership roles, they can be so fulfilling because you've got influence, you've got, you are responsible for so much, but at the same time, you always have to be asking yourself, is this something that is talking to me at the core or not, you know? And is there another way that I could be doing the same thing that can give me, a better, I guess, returns in many ways, right? And where am I in my life? And am I preparing for the future where I am? If I'm not, what is it that I need to do in order to prepare for that future? You know, what is this future I'm talking about? I look at myself, I realize, hey, man, I'm not somebody that is just going to retire. You know, even when I get to 65, I don't think I will kind of retire as such. I still want to be active in one way or the other. But I would not want to be working for somebody else at that time, right? So what is it that I can do today in order to prepare myself for this future that I'm trying to create, I want to have, you know? And then when I look at that, so wow, you know, I've been creating a lot of value for many other people, including myself to some extent, but largely for others, you know. And that's what CEOs do, you know. CEOs that are employed, they create value. That's our job, is to create value. And that value, that you're creating, is largely for others, right? And I felt that, you know, I still have the energy. Let me put my energy for the next 8 years or so, up to 65, to creating value. I'm doing the same thing, but creating value, but largely for myself too, you know, and shaping an entity that's even beyond my official retirement age. I can still be part of and guiding it and coaching people. You know, I can still be part of this entity beyond that. And because it is something that I'm a co-owner in, even its priorities, what it focuses on, is something that will reflect who I am, right? So that is the thing. It's more about trying to live your life really under your terms, rather than it being dictated by others.
So what does this mean then? Firstly, what is this company involved in? Just at a high level, and your envisaged value add.
Yeah, this company it's a company called BSG. It's called Business Systems Group, BSG. It's a business and a technology consulting company. What we specialize in helping organizations to implement their strategy.
Okay. A big problem in South Africa.
So this is probably, if you want to see the biggest weakness that we have as a nation, our weakness is not ideas. We've got great ideas. You know, our weakness is to translate those ideas into reality. And this is what this company does, partnering with our clients to help them to implement so that they can realize business value. This is what I've been doing everywhere I've been. You know, I've been and going there, I formulate together with my team, of course, formulate strategy, and I implement. Execution is the thing, because it's so easy to come up with a strategy. The big problem is many people have is to turn that strategy into reality, to implement. So that's what I continue to deliver wherever I've been, and I don't see why I should not be doing it here as well. So what am I bringing? I am basically home here. Where I am. That's where I am. I'm home because that's what they are good at. But at the same time, I can say that I have I have lived in the future.
Yeah.
In their future, I have lived in their future. You know, I know I've got a memory of the future. Where they are going, I have been there. You know, as we grow and become bigger and bigger and bigger, I have been there. And we will be, as we grow, instead of making some of the mistakes that others have made, I know the terrain. I will be guiding and helping and shaping the team so that we can avoid some of the traps of growing.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you've talked a lot about mentorship and coaching and transferring of knowledge. So I'm assuming that even in the role that you have, that is something that you'll continue to do in that organization.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing because as a chairman, I'm not a CEO. I have no aspiration to be a CEO. I've been a CEO for many, many times. I don't want to be. I will give the CEO the space that he needs. And my job is to help him and to make sure that he becomes successful and continue to work together with him to build a great leadership team and a great employees of BSG.
Yeah. Okay. Now, in one of the interviews that you conducted, must have been on Wednesday or Thursday, you know, with Business Day, there's something that you mentioned, which I thought I needed to ask you to just expand a bit about digital work accelerator that you are involved in. What is that?
Yeah. If you think about some of the challenges that we have as a country, Foods, we have a number of challenges, of course, but if you rank them, probably the big challenge that we have as a country is that one of energy right now, right? So that's the first problem that we have as a country. I put this one of digital skills as being the second biggest problem that we have as a country, because the world is moving into digital. There's something called digital transformation. Yes. And in order for our companies to be globally competitive, they need to embrace and be able to leverage digital technologies. But they won't be able to get there if, as a country, we do not have the skills, the digital skills that will help them to move to that, to embrace and use digital. So this developing of digital skills has become and is the biggest priority, because you go to agriculture, you go to health, you go to financial service, they talk about agri-tech, they talk about health tech, they talk about fintech. There's a tech, a link to it. This is the digital that I'm talking about.
Yes.
But they will never be able to execute their strategies around digital if there are no people that can do that. It is urgent that we build these digital skills in our country. So there's an organization that has been formed. It's a public-private partnership sponsored by the presidency, and I am the co-chair of that organization. Our mission is to make sure that we mobilize South Africans across sectors to put together our resources to build these digital skills. The beauty about this is that we've got in this country today probably about 400 million jobs that cannot be filled. 400, no, sorry, not 400,000 jobs.
Okay.
400,000 jobs that cannot be filled. You know, so if we train and give people the necessary training, they are likely going to be able to get into jobs. So on the one hand, we've got this skills shortage. On the other hand, we've got a huge unemployment problem.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of, to me, there's something that connects the two things there. We can address the youth unemployment problem by giving them the necessary skills so that they can participate in the digital world. So that is the mission of this organization.
Beautiful. All right, as we go towards wrapping the conversation with Heather, so besides this new role you have as an investor now in technology, you've been taking up some non-executive board appointments. Where do you get the time?
Look, when I left Altron, I told myself that a fair amount of my time will be dedicated to the investment vehicle that I've spoken to you about. It's called Wazo Investment. So a fair amount of my time will be there. But also I wanted to, because I'm someone who likes to continuously learn. So I wanted to get into industries or into spaces where in the past I may not have had the opportunity to learn more about those industries. One of those is financial services. The other one is retail. I'm fascinated about the world of retail. Same as I'm fascinated by financial services. And both of those industries depend on technology. So there will be something that I am giving, I'm offering to these companies, but at the same time, I'm also going to be learning. It's like a win-win. It's a great partnership. So that's why I'm sitting on Messmart. That's why I'm sitting on the board of Nedbank. I agree. And also, I just feel that Telkom is one of those organizations that is a great company, or it's a good company that can be great, and I wanted to just be part of that. And of course, ESCOM was just one of those things that just came. It was never a planned thing.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you without, bringing any stories there. But I just wanted to ask you, many people are reluctant to get involved in SOEs, or because they say a number of people's careers have been buried in SOEs, obviously as executives, but sometimes even as non-execs. So how easy was it for you to agree when you were approached to be part of? I'm going to talk about the one that now you've mentioned last, which is ESCOM.
Yeah. So you see, I mean, sometimes when you look at these things, foods, you look at them wearing a different hat. I was looking at it from the point of being a citizen of this country, and saying, and here I'm being asked to be part of a solution that will address the challenges that we are facing as citizens. And there is something that I can offer. Should I say no? I just felt that no, I cannot say no to that. It's just something, as much as it's just adding to the things that I'm doing, but it's an opportunity to contribute to trying to fix one of the biggest challenges that we have as a country. So I could not say no. I am fully aware of the risks associated with it, and I am at that point in my life where yes, there are risks, but hey, even if things end up in whichever way they end up, I can sleep knowing that I tried. I tried to do something to try and help, and I also. And it's that point where I don't care much about really what other people, think, as long as I know that what I've been doing or what I continue to do is coming from a good place.
So, obviously, you're part of a collective in these, non-executive board thingies, but obviously, this week you've been a newsmaker around this thing of BSG, but those risks that you knew, there's some stuff that happened earlier in the month where people misunderstood you. And I don't want us to go deep into that, but I just wanted to ask if you want to set the record straight about anything relating to that, because I know that you were misquoted. But do you want to say anything about that? But you don't have to answer it if you choose not to.
Yeah, look, I appreciate your giving me the choice whether I can or can't. Thank you for that. But I also feel that it's not something that I want to even entertain an answering, because it's just, I feel it's like an insult to be asked that kind of a thing, for people to question where I'm standing when it comes to transformation. I mean, all of my life, this is something that I continue to do. I've been doing all of my life. So if the track record that I have says nothing, and people are swayed by a headline that was misrepresenting me, hey, that says a lot about those people to me, you know. Yeah. And I must just continue to do what I do, you know. Yes. And so that's why I'm not bothered by that at all. It just challenges me that sometimes we don't look deeper into things, and we do need to go beyond the headlines, and as a people, and just pay attention to some of the details as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. We just left with 5 minutes. It's 10 to 6 now. We left with 5 minutes in tether. So, you know, one of the people that I'll call your friend, you know, has a book called Lift as You Rise, you know, and basically giving back. To you, how important is this, you know, building the next layer of leadership and empowering people, you know, just philanthropic kind of initiatives?
Yeah. So you may remember that I indicated to you that even at a very young age, this is something that I was doing it more, helping others to understand a space that was much more clear to me, but it was not so clear to them, the math and science, right? Mm-hmm. So I felt that you know, I had this gift of making things simple. As a result, people were able to understand. And starting from those days, I've just have been that person who continues to help others. It's more about trying to figure out how people can connect with who they are in such a way that they can realize that they already have the greatness that they are seeking, but it's within them. All of us have what we need in order for us to be successful. We have to connect with that thing. And that's something that I try and do. Writing a book was part and parcel of that. I'm not somebody that is you know,
self-promotion,
promoting myself and say, okay, that's just not me. But the need to, when I saw that there's so many people who are asking me to mentor them, I realized that I need to find a way of multiplying myself, because I just did not have the capacity to do that. And through the book, that's a way of doing it. And when I look at the work that I'm doing right now at BSG, the majority of what I'm doing, because I'm not going to be that much more hands-on, I'm going to be helping others. It's more about empowering, giving knowledge, and transferring that knowledge so that we can see the next generation of the Mtetos coming through that, and not making some mistakes that sometimes some of us may have made in
the past.
So that is what I'm going to be doing. That's what I continue to do. And through BSG as well, we are very, very passionate about science and maths. There's this LEAP program that we support. And again, that's the alignment of values that you can see that they were perfectly aligned.
So somebody who is an up and coming person in your technology space, you know, there's 1 or 2 young men who are in that space that are mentoring. What message, you know, do you have for up and coming people in whatever industry really, for them to actually be able to achieve their dreams? You know, it's always said that the younger generation, they don't, you know, they don't have the staying power to wait for things to happen. they want microwave kind of, careers. So just your thoughts, about the young people who want to be the Mtetos in their respective industries.
So I think at the core, I would say that it's so important to have a foundation. You can move around, but move around having some kind of a foundation. We tend to change jobs, and when you look back, what is it that I gained out of this job that I've just moved from? If you distill it, what is it? And sometimes it's very difficult to say what competence was I able to build when I was given that experience. I'm saying change job for great, go and change job, but make sure that each time you are given an opportunity, build a certain competence. And when you leave, you know that it could be just selling. If you are, am I a great salesperson? If that's the opportunity I've been given there. If it's about quality control, am I a great quality controller? Whatever you have been given, and when you're moving out, you can now look back, say, I've got these competencies that I can then take and put them together in order for me to be comparative, in order for me to be effective elsewhere. So building those competencies and consciously doing so, very conscious, because you can build the same competence all over and again, but it's just the same. Try and build different capabilities so that you can be, because we are competing. We have to stand out.
Right, Mteto, it's 5 to 6, and you have your 6 o'clock meeting. So I will not hold you any further. I must just thank you for squeezing us in. Other people would have just canceled the interview. So we haven't had time to answer questions from the people, but I'm sure it's not the last time we have a conversation with you. But at least we got the gist of the things that made you newsworthy in the past month. And I want to thank you and all the best in the meeting that you are about to get to. I hope whatever you're discussing there, it will make all of us happy. Thank you very much, Mteto.
Okay, you take care. Cheers.
All right, lovely.
Bye.
All right. So my sincere apologies that the interview had to be cut short. There's a matter of national importance that Mteto has to get involved in, starting at 6 o'clock. So as a result of that, he only gave us basically about 55 minutes to have a chat with him. I agreed to that than for us to, to cancel the meeting. So I want to say thank you to all of you who managed to join in despite the change of the times. This will be available on YouTube. And so anyone who has missed it will get it from YouTube. So I want to thank you, Mteto, and thank you to everybody else.
Thank you. Thank you, Fundi.
All right. Bye.
Bye.